What is up, everybody? Today is February 9th, 2020, 2021. And in this video, we're going to talk about the numerology of Super Bowl 55. And there are several things we're going to look at here. The first being the numerology of the score of the game, 31-9. About an hour or two before the game started, I made a blog post that led off with the number 319, talking about how significant it was in relation to the game. So the fact that the score ended up being 31-9 is certainly no coincidence, as this will be connected to Andy Reid and the death of his son back in 2012. We're also going to look at the numerology of two deaths in the sporting world a day before and after the game. ESPN baseball reporter Pedro Gomez dying at the age of 58. See how the name Pedro equals 58 in the alphabetical order and 77 in reverse. We also had the death of NFL coach Marty Schottenheimer at the age of 77. Notice how Marty equals 77 and 58 in reverse. And then towards the end of this video, probably the last half or so, I want to break down the numerology of the game itself. We'll look at the numerical riddles that occurred underneath everybody's noses that virtually nobody really knows about. So we'll look at the numerology of the first touchdown, this fake injury towards the end of the game, why Tyron Matthew was a key figure in the game. We'll also cover the numerology of the halftime show featuring The Weeknd and a really interesting riddle between the two kickers in the Super Bowl, both of whom making long 52-yard field goals in the fourth quarter, or second half, whatever. But to start this off, I want to talk about the number 319 and why this ended up being the number coded into the score of the game. Now, back on Friday night, just before the Super Bowl, we got a news story about Trevor Bauer signing a contract with the Dodgers. And this was a big news story. The contract would be the largest single-season salary for any athlete in American sports history. The announcement came at the same time that Kevin Durant was pulled from the game against the Raptors for a positive COVID test in contact tracing. Now, Trevor Bauer signed with the Dodgers, and of course the Dodgers won the World Series in Game 6 when Justin Turner was pulled from the game for a positive COVID test partway through. Now, when Trevor Bauer made that announcement, he was 30 years and 19 days old. And I knew this was going to be a big number related to the Super Bowl. Head coach Andy Reid was born on the date March 19th, which of course can be written 319. Back in the year 2012, a year that has the same digits as 2021, Andy Reid's son, Garrett Reid, suddenly passed away at the club's training camp at the age of 29. Measuring from that man's death to the Super Bowl this past weekend was a span of 3,109 days, just like Reid's birthday. And the reason this number is so significant is because the word killing sums to 319 in satanic Gematria. Furthermore, this 3,109 days also comes out to exactly 444 weeks. The Kansas City Chiefs came into the game with exactly 444 franchise losses. And look at the word killing. See how it sums to 444 in Sumerian? 444 weeks translating to 3,109 days. And the reason we knew Trevor Bauer was a part of this riddle is because look at the Jewish gematria of killing, 115. Also in reverse, 115. The name Trevor equals 1,015. Andy Reid came into the game with 98 wins for the Chiefs, just like the name Trevor. And then he left the game with 145 career losses. Trevor Bauer, 145. So no doubt this was a huge part. It was ultimately the final clue that led us to the final score of the game. And another reason we knew the death of Andy Reid's son was significant in relation to the Super Bowl is because Andy Reid's other son, his name is Britt Reid, and he's also a coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, just a day or two before the game, he got in trouble, a little drunk driving incident that is said to have hurt 2 children, one severely. I don't believe this is a real news story. First of all, the I-435. Think about the gematria of I-435. 444. The Super Bowl 444 weeks after the death of Britt's brother, Garrett. Furthermore, look at the headline, 2 children, one severely. I always thought this was an awkward thing for the news to say. It should just be 2 children, but they wanted to make sure the number 21 was in there. Remember, this is the year 21, and the 21st prime number is 73. Look at the gematria of children, 73, the 21st prime. And now Tom Brady is 7-3 in Super Bowls here in 21. A couple more things I may come back to revisit. I just wanted to point out how the name Bauer equals 288. This was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' 288th franchise victory. Also look at how Bauer equals 20-88, another 288. Raymond James Stadium equals 288, and that's where the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl to get their 288th franchise win. So, not only did I call the winner of the game again this year, but I blogged about the score unintentionally before the game even happened. 319. All right, so let's talk about the passing of Marty Schottenheimer, who died yesterday, and how his death is a numeric tribute to the career of Tom Brady. Now, the first thing to note is that Marty Schottenheimer died at the age of 77. And notice how the name Marty sums to 77 in the alphabetic order. Super Bowl champion Tom Brady was born in the year 77. His full name sums to 389. That's the 77th prime number. Schottenheimer died in the state of North Carolina, which sums to 77. Tom Brady is currently 43 years old. Well, Marty Schottenheimer was born in the year 43. The 43rd prime number is 191, and Schottenheimer's death made headlines a span of 191 days after Tom Brady's 43rd birthday. Consider also how the word killing has gematria of 43. But I want you to notice another number they put here in the headline. They pointed out that Marty Schottenheimer is top 10 in all-time wins, dying at 77. Top 10? Well, that stands out because Tom Brady just played his 10th Super Bowl, winning his 7th. And check out Tom Brady's primary birth numerology. 8 plus 3 plus 19 plus 77 is 107. Now, the number 107 is a prime number. See here, it's the 28th prime number. Well, not only did Martin Schottenheimer die on the date 2/8, February 8th, but he was also 28,000 days old. Well, actually, he was 28,264 days old. Tom Brady just won his 264th career game. I also want to point out the gematria of Alzheimer's disease, which sums to 101 in reverse reduction. This is the disease that allegedly killed Schottenheimer. Marty was a coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, He spent 10 years coaching for the team. Of course, the Chiefs just lost the Super Bowl. This year's Super Bowl ended the 101st season in NFL history, and Schottenheimer won 101 games with the Kansas City Chiefs. In the standard alphabetic order, check out how the name Marty Schottenheimer sums to 239. He died one day after Super Bowl 55, which also equals 239. And check out his birthday, the 23rd of September, the date written 23/9. 239 is another prime number. That would be the 52nd prime number. And Schottenheimer's death made headlines on a date with primary numerology of 52. So again, showing how this is connected to this weekend's Super Bowl. This was Super Bowl 55, which in Roman numerals is written LV. Brady won his 7th ring. This was also his 34th career playoff victory. It came with the Tampa Bay Bucks, which equals 34. 34, also the Gematria of murder in reduction. And before I skip this, Tampa Bay Bucks equals 200. Marty Schottenheimer won 200 games in his NFL coaching career. As you see right there, NFL regular season, 200 wins. Tampa Bay Bucks 200. But the 34 here, like murder. This connects us to another significant number for Marty Schottenheimer. The 34th prime number is 139. Consider how Freemasonry sums to 139 in the alphabetic order. Using the S exception, Marty Schottenheimer's full name, Martin Edward Schottenheimer, equals 139. This ESPN article about his death pointed out how Schottenheimer was known for his brand of football called Marty Ball, and Marty Ball has this gematria of 139. Well, isn't it interesting that he died 139 days after his birthday with the end date? Furthermore, if you look at the dates that he first coached in the NFL and the date that he last coached in the NFL, you get the number 139 in both measurements. Also, if you include the playoffs, Schottenheimer lost a total of 139 games in his career. Now, the number 139, important for another reason. Remember, this connects us back to the score of the game. 139, the digits in this score when reversed, by looking at the scoreboard. Now, we're connecting this between Marty Schottenheimer and Tom Brady. I want to point out how their birthdays fall 51 days apart. And Schottenheimer's death fell on a date with 51 numerology. Think about how the Super Bowl was played in Tampa, which equals 51. And his death was in the city of Charlotte, which equals 51. Both Alzheimer's and Alzheimer's disease has a couple more connections to Tom Brady and Tampa. The Super Bowl was played on the date leaving 327 days on the year, and that's how many games Schottenheimer coached in his career. So this man, completely coated with the numbers of Super Bowl 55, he dies one day later. Clearly, these are not coincidences that we're looking at. Another significant death to occur in the sports world was the passing of Pedro Gomez, who was a sports journalist and a baseball beat writer. He passed away the day of the Super Bowl, and he died at the age of 58, like the name Pedro summing to 58. Now, as I pointed out, we talked about the score 31-9 and how this was connected to Andy Reid and his sons. Well, Andy Reid was born in the year 58. His son Garrett died on the 5th of August, or the date 5/8, back in 2012. Now we get the death of Pedro at age 58. Pedro Gomez had primary birth numerology of 109. And immediately this number stuck out to me. Andy Reid's son, Garrett, also had primary birth numerology of 109. Trevor Bauer, the man whose contract we talked about being related to the Super Bowl and a big clue, he also had birth numerology of 109. 109 is the 29th prime number, and Andy's son Garrett Reid died at the age of 29, which, by the way, is half of 58, the age of Pedro Gomez. So you see how these deaths built this growing riddle over the days from the Super Bowl. Another thing that stood out is that if you measure from Pedro's birthday to the date he died, this was a span of 172 days later. 172 is the ordinal value of Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid's son was named Garrett Reid, which also sums to 172. Consider also how 172 is the inverse of 271. Baseball writer Pedro Gomez sums to 271, the 58th prime number. He died at age 58. Journalist Pedro Gomez, also with a 1991, and that's the year that Trevor Bauer was born in. Kind of a loose connection. But we talked a lot about the killing code and how this connects us to Andy Reid and Garrett Reid. Well, notice how in reduction, killing equals 38. The Super Bowl and Pedro's death fell on the 38th day this year. The name Pedro Gomez sums to 38. And consider how this is the number of death. Murder equals 38. Also, the 38th prime number is 163. The Chiefs lost, dropping their record to 16-3. And I believe Thomas Edward Patrick Brady sums to 163 in reverse reduction as well. Finally, Pedro Gomez sums to 124 in the alphabetic order. His death, a ritual for the Tampa Bay Bucks, 124. Tampa Bay Buccaneers even 1,024 in Jewish Gematria, so that's a big number for the team. The Super Bowl was also Bruce Arians' 119th game of his career. We see a couple of 119s here with Pedro Gomez and journalist. All right. I'm actually going to pop in the chat here. Decent turnout. I see you guys are talking about WWE, which is always fun. Let's see. WWE wrestler Butch Reed. I was not aware of that. I'll have to look into that. But that's really interesting, obviously, in how it connects to Andy Reid. Question asking if head injuries can cause Alzheimer's. I would be shocked if they didn't. Whether you're talking about pro wrestling or pro football, you're talking about the same issue there. So Butch Reed dying on February 5th, 2 days before the game. It looks like he was in WWF or WWE for a little while. A couple years back in the 80s. A cameo in 07. I'm definitely curious about this guy's numerology to see how it connects to the game. 41-49 in reduction for Butch Reed. Look at that. Super Bowl. 41-49. How old was Butch Reed? July 11th, 1954 to 2/5. So he was 66 years old, 30 weeks after his birthday. Oh, okay. He died a span of 157 days before his birthday. Butch Reed equals 157 in the reverse alphabetic order. Now, 157 was not necessarily a huge number on the Super Bowl, but it is the 37th prime number, and Buccaneers equals 37. Speaking of 37, let's get into the numerology of Super Bowl 55 and take a look at some of the occulted riddles that played out in front of us on the screen. And we start with the first touchdown of the game. Now, I made a post last week about the story involving Robin Hood and GameStop. And in this post, I theorized, does a story about Robin Hood right before the Super Bowl, and of course Robin Hood equals 55, just like Wall Street bets, pointing us to the Super Bowl. I said, could it be that Robin Hood is pointing us to a riddle with Rob Gronkowski, as Gronk had a couple numbers that lined up with this whole story? Well, then Rob Gronkowski turned out to score the first 2 touchdowns for Tampa Bay. Gronkowski wears number 87. Call me crazy here, but I think it was intentional. Notice how he turned just a little bit to the right, so you can't see how the 8 completes. Maybe that's a coincidence again. So it looks like he's wearing number 37. Well, look how many seconds are on the clock when he scored this touchdown. 37 seconds. Buccaneers equals 37. After the Buccaneers kicked their extra point, the score was 3-7. Gronkowski has reduced birth numerology of 37, and the Super Bowl was 3 months, 7 days before his birthday. All right, so we had a fake injury in the last 3 minutes of the game. Now, back in November, I pointed out the fact that Super Bowl 55 would be a ritual in relation to the number 666. And this was for several reasons. These are all listed in the post. It all goes down to the halftime performer as well. So 666 was a huge number coming in, and if you're familiar with my work, you know I teach about the connection between 666 and 238. In Jewish Gematria, 666 equals 2038. The moon's average distance from Earth is 238,000 miles. And of course, the moon is 2,160 miles in diameter. That's 6 times 6 times 6. The moon in 666, so strong in numerology. So, with 2:38 on the clock, we get the injury of a player, and he just lays there. He tried crawling for a second, but ultimately he was just pretending he was hurt. No, this guy might not even know why he's pretending to be hurt, but let's take a look at why. So, 2 minutes and 38 seconds. This is 158 seconds. Here's Carlton Davis, the man who was injured on the play, allegedly. And notice how he has primary birth numerology of 158, the number of seconds in the game. This is another number of Freemasonry, 158. And what really trips me out is that, look at his name, Carlton Davis III. Guys, how many times have we seen this? Someone who's a third being used in a 666 riddle. Consider how William Henry Gates III, Bill Gates' full name, he's got the upside down 666, the 999. William Henry Gates equals 201, like 666. If I can spell it. And then Bill Gates equals 666 in Gematria. I also talked about this in a story about 50 Cent. And this story about him offering Khabib Nurmagomedov a contract was a perfect example. Another celebrity coded with 666. So here we have another with the 999. The name Carlton Davis equals 1098, like Beast, 198. This was Super Bowl 55. The name Davis sums to 55. Notice how Carlton Davis equals Super Bowl LV. Carlton Davis in reverse equals Super Bowl 55. And Carlton Davis equals Raymond James, the name of the stadium they played in. So now we know why this guy, and by the way, he wears 24. He was 24 years old. With prime numbers, his name is 444. We talked about this in relation to Kansas City and Andy Reid. All right, now another big figure in the game was Tyron Matthew. You may remember he got in a big shouting match with Tom Brady. Tom Brady apologized to him after the game. Matthew committed a couple penalties in the game. He also made an interception that was negated by a penalty, which made him really pissed off. And I couldn't help but laugh that he was such a big figure in this game because 2 weeks ago it was Kevin King for the Packers who blew the game. And that was the same weekend that Larry King died on the 23rd. The home run king, Hank Aaron, died on the 22nd. And then Kevin King blows the game. Well, look at Tyron Matthew. He's got the word King tattooed right there on his arm. His full name matches the Gematria of 666 and Super Bowl 55. His birthday leaves 232 days in the year. That's a number of Satan. We'll talk more about Satan as we get to the halftime show. Super Bowl 55 was played 95 days before Tyron Matthew's birthday. 95 is connected to the number 666 in Gematria. See how it sums to 95 in reduction? Furthermore, 666 days is 95 weeks. The halftime performer was named The Weeknd, which equals 95. And I don't know if you saw this, but Bruce Arians, the coach of the Buccaneers, I love how he's still shown in his Cardinal colors here. Remember, he was a coach for the Arizona Cardinals before this. And the Cardinals represent the Catholic Church, which is run by the Jesuit order. And check out how Bruce Charles Arians equals 177 and 78. The Jesuit order, 177, 78 reduction. But anyway, his mother was in the crowd for the game, and when he was speaking, he said, "Shout out to my mom who's in the crowd. She's 95 years old." And I busted out laughing because we know what 95 is shorthand for. So speaking of the halftime show, this brings us to The Weeknd, and unfortunately, this is another one of those artists who is clearly sold out to the quote-unquote Illuminati or whatever you want to call them. There's been images circulating from a Weeknd concert back in 2017 where he flashed the word Satan at his concert. Sounds like a wholesome guy. Again, Satan equals 55, which, of course, was the number of this year's Super Bowl. And the symbolism was pretty obvious. I mean, you had The Weeknd dressed up in a red coat with the big black hair, wearing black gloves, surrounded by men in black and red, wearing masks, symbolic of the masks we're all being asked to wear, which is a satanic ritual. Nothing godly about covering our faces. You know, God gave us an uncanny ability to see and recognize faces and connect with them. The mask charade is to take us out of that and start losing our individuality, which is the worst sin of all. Anyway, of course, the show even ended with the stadium bathed in red lights. This was only the second Super Bowl with two teams that both wear red, the Chiefs and Buccaneers. To start the performance, they even descended a character with two red eyes, and he fell into a choir of angel-looking figures. I mean, if you can't see the satanic dark angel Luciferian symbolism in this show, you are so gone and dumb, I can't even help you. Like, no one can help you. So when we look up the weekend, notice how he was born on February 16th, or 216, right? 216. Well, 216 is 6 times 6 times 6. And what was the score when he took the stage? It was 21-6. The show was on February 7th, which equals 216. Again, these are all numbers I blogged about before the game, telling you to look out for. To wrap this video up, I want to take a look at the riddle for the kickers in the Super Bowl. I haven't heard anyone mention this or talk about it, but this was a big part of the game, and when you're looking at elements of numerology intentionally coded in, this is a perfect example, and there's no way this happens organically or naturally. This is a perfect example of how these games are scripted down to the very yard on the field. Scripted by someone, scripted by something. No doubt about it. So let's pull up the Wikipedia pages for these two kickers. First of all, we had Ryan Suckup. Kind of a weird name, Suckup. And then we had Harrison Butker. I mean, you got to love these names. Bucker and Suckup. All right. So first of all, the kickers equals 55. Like the number on the Super Bowl. Both of these kickers made 52-yard field goals in this game. In the second half. Now, 52 yards is a really long field goal. In fact, there's only been one field goal longer than that in the entire history of the Super Bowl. And that was 54 yards by Steve Christie, I believe, in Super Bowl 28. So both of these kickers now have the second longest field goal in Super Bowl history. And again, both of those were 52-yard field goals. Well, check out how Ryan Suckup has birth numerology of 52. His head coach, Bruce Arians, is now 5-2 in the playoffs. And remember, the 52nd prime number is 239, connecting us to Super Bowl 55. But here's something else that's really interesting. So, before the game, I even blogged about Tom Brady. His Gematria is 46. He came from Michigan, 46. He now plays for the Buccaneers, 46. His full name also has Gematria of 1099. Well, 199 is the 46th prime number, and Brady was selected 199th in the draft. So isn't it strange that this number appears in both men's numerology? We start with Ryan Suckup, who was born on the 19th of September, or 19/9. The other kicker, his name is Harrison Butker. And notice how Harrison Butker equals 199. Now again, 199 is the 46th prime number. If you measure from the birthday of Ryan Suckup to the birthday of Harrison Butker, you get exactly 460 weeks. In English Gematria, the kickers equals 460 and 46. In fact, the name Suckup equals 406 in Jewish Gematria. Harrison Butker's 3 made field goals accounted for all 9 of the Chiefs' points in this game. His field goals were 49, 34, and 52 yards away. So this means if you add these 3 field goals together, you get 135. We'll check out Harrison Butker's birth numerology, 7/14 of 95. He has primary birth numerology of 135. So his 3 field goals averaged 45 yards away. He also has birth numerology of 45. How do we know this isn't a coincidence? Look at the gematria of Ryan Suckup. 135, and 45. So there's a lot more I'm sure you could figure out in the stats. For instance, Tom Brady had 201 passing yards. Remember, this is the year 21. The 21st prime is 73, and Brady is now 7-3 in Super Bowls in his 10th Super Bowl. Of course, the 10th triangular number and the 10th Fibonacci number is 55. Brady in his 10th Super Bowl in Super Bowl 55. How do they do it? They're so good. All right, just dropping in the chat. Shout out to everybody who jumped in. Somebody said Butch Reed played for KC. Did he really? I didn't even catch that. We were talking about the pro wrestler again. Wow, he was born in Kansas City, Missouri. No shit. Wow, so I didn't even catch this, but here we have another celebrity death related to the Super Bowl. Butch Reed, like Andy Reid. Butch born in Kansas City. Billed from Kansas City, where Andy Reid was the coach. That's a really good one. So thanks for pointing that out in the chat. Certainly there's a big King pattern. If you didn't see my video on Kevin King blowing the game for the Packers, see why I think there's a good chance that we could see a new King of England this year. Thanks for reminding people to hit the like button. Likes, comments, chats, that stuff is all very welcome for the algorithm, for whatever it's worth. Oh, and thanks to Cousin Tommy here for pointing out the streaker who ran on the field. By no means was this random. At least I don't think so. And we're even getting a story now that he won $374,000 for betting on himself, streaking on the field. Is it really only $500 to bail yourself out of jail for streaking during the Super Bowl? I'm surprised more people don't do it. But what was really trippy about this guy, I don't think there's a picture here, but... Oh, yeah, there is. And this is some freaky stuff, right? If you look carefully, you'll see that he has Revelation 2:10 tattooed on his chest. So there again we see the number 21. And he's sticking his tongue out. I don't know why. That's probably some satanic thing. But we want to look at Revelation 2:10. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful until death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Well, we have talk of a crown. Of course, corona means crown. And the coronavirus has been a big deal. Some people have theorized that this could be a sign that they're going to start putting people in FEMA concentration camps. I don't know how that would happen in the United States without a new type of disaster. Certainly the coronavirus is not enough for people to allow that to happen. But they do have plans. So I wouldn't cast aside anything based on that. Just checking out the gematria of this Bible verse as well. The 2103 Of course, this represents 213, a number of death. Revelation 2:10, right? Well, it's kind of interesting that when you write out Revelation 2:10 and then the verse, you get 913. That's similar to the score of the game, but I'm not going to try to read too much into that. I don't know, I guess we'll maybe have to pick that apart a little more as we go, but pretty strange stuff. Oh, wow, I just thought of something. I'm going to pull out my King James Bible. I just realized now why it's $374,000. Check this out. Okay, I guess I deleted my King James Bible from my own computer. How did I do that? Did I really do that? I guess so. I guess I deleted the King James Bible from my computer. Okay. I'm going to have to download this again from my own website. But here's what I want to show you. Revelation 2. Oh, come on, let me open this. All right, well, here's what I want to show. So, let's go to Revelation 2:10 KJV again. Now, we know that in Revelation, there's 404 verses, right? Now, Revelation 1 has 20 verses, okay? And his is Revelation 2:10. So we take 20 plus 10, and we can figure out that Revelation 2:10 is the 30th verse of Revelation, okay? Well, what's 404 minus 30? So Revelation 2:10 leaves 374 verses in the book of Revelation. And what was the fine? $374,000. See? Boom. Got it. Figured it out. Oh, I'm really sorry about that sound that came up. See, this is why I have to set my sound to the other speakers. My bad. I'll try to mute it out. I don't know how. I didn't know I could, but I'll try. Damn, sorry. All right, guys, that'll do it for this video. Thanks for popping in. If I burst any eardrums, please send a bill to DerekandGematrinator.com, and I will trash it and ignore it. All right, peace, love, God bless, and talk to you next time. See ya.